YouTubers, stay normal. Just thought I'd come make a video today. I I felt kind of bad in a way because there's more than just one YouTuber that, I've been following. And, I gave Timmy a shout out this last time. There are a lot of YouTubers um that I've been watching that have really been helpful to me. One of which is and if I can get my list to come up here because I want to make sure I pronounce her name right. It is wow, I really hope I don't butcher this name. I believe it's Racina Denson. Um, she's gone through quite a struggle with her dentures and getting things done. Bill Westland is another one that I've watched. Pink Acid Queen, and Miss Buffy G. There's several YouTubers that I've kind of been following for the last couple of months. Preparing for my extractions and then post. And I apologize for the light. It's like glaring, and I have the blinds shut, but it's not helping too much. But you know, all of these people have gone through their own struggles with having their teeth removed and either getting immediate dentures or waiting for time to heal. Problems with, just everyday wear. For someone that has dentures to, the psychological part of it, because for most people, you can't tell that they have dentures unless you see them take them out, or you knew them prior to them having dentures. So, you know, living life with dentures or without teeth, or even for people that have severely decayed teeth like I did before I had my extractions, um there's a psychological side to it, because a lot of times people don't want to get to know the person. They just take you on first impressions. And I never really thought about it a whole lot. But once I started having problems with my teeth and I started noticing how people would treat me differently, you know, um, it's kind of a throwback, just the other day, for instance, I wasn't dressed to the nines, but, had the makeup done, was dressed, decently, wasn't dressed all ragged and housewife-ish like I am now in my hooded sweatshirt and basketball shorts. But, but, went into a convenience store to, pay for my gas, got a soda, and, or a tea actually. But either way, and went to pay, and I was digging in my purse for my wallet, and, I was asking the guy because the card has the little chip thing on it to where you can just put it in the bottom part of the credit card reader rather than slide it. And it does everything for you. And evidently he misunderstood what I was asking, and he's like, oh, well, we can't do, cash benefits or whatever. You'll have to use the ATM because the only thing we can do on this is EBT, which is food stamps. And I was like, I don't know what the hell you're talking about, sweetheart, but I'm talking about the credit card. I'm like, pay, plastic, hello, bank card. And he's like, well, no, yeah, just, put it in the box. And it dawned on me that this idiot thought that I was going to use government assistance or whatever. And I was like, you know what? You're a jackass to assume, and I was like, that was kind of rude. Just so you're aware, you know, that was rude. And he just kind of looked at me and goes, well, I just assumed. And I'm like, you just assumed because of what? You know, why did you assume that? And he just stood there and looked at me, and I said, I said, if people judged based and treated you based solely on how you look, or made assumptions like that solely on how you look, I'm like, your shirt's untucked, your tie is stained, your shirt is stained, your hair doesn't look like you've combed it in a week, you know? What would I assume? And he's like, ma'am, I'm really, really sorry. You know, he's like, I didn't. And I'm like, exactly. I'm like, but you didn't give me time to finish saying what I was trying to say or ask the question that I was trying to ask. You just assumed, based on what you saw, that, oh, well, this lady's trying to use food stamps. No, sweetheart. No. You know, and I'm not saying anything bad about anybody that uses food stamps or whatever. People got to do what they got to do to feed their families. I ain't judging. But in the same respect, you know, what does that say? You know, he assumed based on what he saw, you know, and I can only wonder what it was that, you know, but that's what I'm talking about. It's the first impressions that people jump on and automatically make assessments of people that they don't know without so much as hearing a word out of their mouth. You know, and how often do we do that when you're, you know, in a store, or, you know, you see something on TV, or, you know, you see somebody and you just automatically assume, you know, because I mean, let's take this for instance. You're walking through the mall and you see some lady with half her hoo-ha hanging out the back of her shirt, or the back of her skirt, you know, her boobs hanging out the front of her top, you know, makeup like Tammy Faye Baker. And what do you assume? Oh, she a hoe. She's easy. Now, does that mean that snap judgments are wrong? Well, no, not always. But there's more to that than meets the eye. A person that dresses that way has very low self-esteem. And they're doing everything they can to put what they consider their best attributes on display so that people will, quote, have a higher value of them. Some people just have the shake what the good Lord gave you mentality. Either way, you know, snap judgments like that are what make an ass out of the person making the judgment, because you're not giving that person's worth the right assessment, because you're judging basically on only what you can see. And that doesn't mean that that person is less, or, you know, just because they dress a certain way or talk a certain way or they live on a certain side of town that they're a certain type of person, because it's not true. And it's, you know, what is the it's from a Dr. Seuss, one of the Dr. Seuss books, and forgive me, but it stuck with me, and I read it to my kids I don't know how many times, and I can't remember exactly which book it's in, but it's one of them. But it says, you know, a person's a person no matter how small. And I think it's Horton Hears a Who, but don't quote me on that. But you know, it's so absolutely unequivocally true. A person is a person no matter how small. No matter what kind of person they are, what ethnicity, where they come from, what, you know, what they do for a living, how much money they make, where they live, how they dress, what they drive. It doesn't matter. That's still a human being, deserving of compassion, love, and respect. And I'm not saying that you gotta, you know, run up and hug every person you meet and love everybody. No, that's not what I'm saying. But it's a common the ability to have compassion and love a human being without knowing them is something that, you know, is falling short in this world nowadays. And you know, the older I get, the more I see it. And I've tried beyond all things to teach my kids that, you know, you can't judge a book by its cover. Just because someone's poor or rich or fat or thin or tall or short or whatever doesn't mean that they're any less deserving of your love and respect than anybody else. And it's funny to me that now, without teeth, that people are are, and I mean, I don't think I realized it too much, or noticed it too much, when my teeth were bad, because I hid them, you know, um, and I mean, now I have nothing to hide, but in the same respect, now that I don't have any teeth, I'm noticing more that when I talk to people, especially people that don't know me, they're not looking in my eyes, or, they're watching my mouth. And I've seen this with several people, at the grocery store or at the gas station, or, whatever. They're looking at my mouth. They're not looking at my eyes. And it's kind of disheartening, but in a way it's kind of funny, because when you have, teeth or whatever, or you don't have issues with your mouth, let's put it that way. um I don't think you really pay much attention to where people look, for the most part. um but I'm self-conscious about it, so I watch, I'm paying attention to what people are doing when I'm talking to them. And you can tell when somebody's not making eye contact or whatever, and you can tell, when they're watching your mouth and not so much your face, so to speak. And it's kind of like a little mini social experiment. And I know it sounds kind of silly, but I'm finding myself rather amused, and I gotta say that it's kind of disheartening in a way, but in the same sense, it makes me wonder if, once I get my teeth, if people are actually going to pay attention to my mouth, or if it's going to look, quote, normal to them, and it's not going to be, something that they notice. And I know it seems like I'm kind of rambling on, but I'm feeling a lot better physically and mentally, I guess. I've kind of I'm kind of getting to the point where I'm accepting the fact that this is just another step in life. And I'm getting used to, seeing it in the mirror every morning, and it, kind of like desensitizing me as far as that's concerned, because I'm getting used to it. It's becoming, part of my normal. And um the funny part of it is that, yes, I'm still very self-conscious about it. I don't, I don't want people to, especially people that don't know me, to see me and that be all they remember, you know? And personally, I'm a very outgoing person. I'm a very chatty type person, and I find myself avoiding conversations just because I don't want people that don't know me, or, somebody that I don't have to talk to. I find myself avoiding those conversations because I don't want people, you know, to affirm what they're assuming, because I know that a lot of people can look at me and assume that I ain't got no teeth just by the way my face sets. Um, but and it sounds kind of silly, I know, because I'm putting videos on Facebook, whew, on YouTube, but it's it's different, because here I'm talking to a camera. I'm talking to, a box on the screen. There's no people looking back at me. There's no eyes or face judging me. There's no, facial expressions or whatever judging me coming back. So in that way, it's kind of therapeutic, I guess, because it's kind of like, a little vision into my own psychosis, because I'm sitting here talking to myself. But in the same sense, I'm not. And I know that somebody's going to see this, somebody's going to watch this, somebody's going to hear what I have to say, and they're going to have an opportunity to comment or criticize or whatever. But it's not the same when you're face to face with someone, because you can't just change the web page. You can't, block that person or whatever. You're forced to physically interact with that person, or physically refuse to interact with that person. And this is kind of my own personal therapy session, I guess, because it gives me a chance to get all that crap out of my system, get it all off my chest, and let somebody else see and hear how I feel, how I'm doing, whatever, without the threat of immediate judgment. And I know that there's probably a million people that have watched my videos that have said their own little criticisms, or, had some sort of little crappy remark to make, and to each his own. They have their right to their opinion, just like I have my right to mine. And having said that, I try to be as positive as humanly possible, when it comes to my own self-worth, because I do have kids, and I want them to understand that life isn't always a box of roses. It's not always going to be, smiles and sunshine. Sometimes you're going to have to walk through the crap, and there's going to be days where you're going to have to put on your big girl pants or big boy pants, whichever one it is, and, do what you got to do and move on. And this is kind of that situation, and I want my kids to understand that I don't like this situation. I don't like being like this. I don't like looking like this. But the alternative was much worse. And I did this to further my own health, to be in a better state, in a better place, in a better, physical and mental situation. And this is a means to a better situation. And I've said that before. But I don't want them to question their own physical state and think that, well, I need to change something because somebody may judge me based on that, and it's not what's considered normal or okay or whatever. And that's not the case. You can look back at my older videos and see, the day prior to my extractions, I posted a video where I actually show what my front teeth and my bottom teeth really look like, and they're pretty gross. And going from that to this is a big change, and it's a lot to get used to. But I want my kids to know that through it all, I'm still me. I'm still the same person. That no matter what you take away, or what you add, or, how much, sprucing up, fixing up, whatever you want to call it, you do, I'm still the same person inside. I'm still the same mom that they knew. Just because I've changed my outward appearance doesn't mean that my inward self is any different. And having said that, it's kind of amusing to me that now, where before wasn't really concerned about what people thought, I was me and that's all that mattered. But now I find myself curious at the way people react to me without teeth. And I don't know why that was so much different when, my teeth were so bad before. And it didn't really bother me as far as what people thought, or, whatever. But, and the fact that it bothers me now is kind of, I don't know whether it's just my own way of, not wanting to admit that, being self-conscious about it is bugging the crap out of me. Or what, what you want to call it. But, and it's like I said before, all these folks that, that I've watched over the last couple of months and watched them go through their journeys, and some of them have videos, for 2 years back, you know, as going through, you know, having their teeth done and everything. And it's it's awesome to me to see um, where some of them are now, and they're happy and thriving and you know, positive about their situation, and they're honest, you know. And that's something that I think a lot of people want to hide it. They don't want to tell people, or, you know, and I'm not saying you go around, you know, with a banner going, I wear fake teeth, you know, I got dentures. No, you know, but in the same sense, I don't see why having dentures or not having dentures or whatever, I don't see why any of that has any bearing on a person's ability to like you, date you, love you, whatever. Because honestly, um, if they love you, they love you. They love you, the person you are, not your outward appearance, not, you know, your bra size, or, you know, your bank account total or whatever. You know, it's you. And if petty, you know, materialistic things like that are an issue for them, then you're better off knowing sooner than later. Um, and I'm not saying that, you know, looks aren't, you know, a big part of what we attract, you know, how we attract each other, but in the same sense, what's the difference? Because, you know, you're not going to fall in love with that person's looks. You're going to fall in love with, you know, their person, their personality, their sense of humor, their, you know, their mind, their, you know, it's not based on what they look like. That's what gets you to talk to them. Once, you know, it's what makes you want to spend time with that person. It has nothing to do with what you fall in love with. And honestly, if that's the only reason you're with someone is because you think they're pretty, or they're eye candy, or, you know, whatever, they got a fat bank account or whatever, then you need to check yourself and reevaluate some things, because you got a whole lot more issues than, you know, just vanity. Um, and, you know, watching some of these folks and listening to some of their vlogs and stuff about, you know, dating or being intimate or whatever, and, you know, being worried about, you know, that other person finding out you have dentures or whatever. And for me, that's not an issue. I've been with my husband for going on 16 years. Um, and it's not an issue, you know. I mean, and honestly, you know, I don't even, I wouldn't even begin to know how to go about that on the whole dating front. I'm glad I don't have to worry about it, honestly. But you just have to, it's honestly what another person thinks is ultimately irrelevant, because you have to be comfortable in your own skin. But what another person thinks can influence how you feel about yourself, if you allow it to. And watching these other people, you know, see how they react to me or how they look at me when I'm talking to them, it's kind of my way of checks and balances to see if they're, you know, evaluating me or weighing my worth based on how I look, you know. And it, you know, it's a sobering reminder, you know, that there's other people out there that got far worse problems than I do, you know. And here I am worried about, you know, what people think about when they talk to me or whatever, because I don't have teeth. You know, there's far worse crap to worry about in this world. And, you know, that's kind of how I rationalize it to myself to keep my own self in check, I guess. Is, you know, look, it could be so much worse, you know. You ain't got teeth, big deal, you know. They're gonna, you know, I'm gonna have a set in a couple weeks, and then, you know, a couple weeks down the road, ain't nobody gonna know the difference, but I'll know, you know. And that's, there's so many more people that, you know, it's shit they can't cover up. And that's kind of my check to myself, to be able to look at this in a positive way, and be thankful to God and everything that, I have the health and the abilities that I do, and be thankful for the things that I have, and the life that I lead, and that the Lord has blessed me with so many things, is that it could be so much worse. I am so very lucky, and I'm so very blessed. So dealing with having all your teeth removed is kind of a roller coaster ride. No matter how much you try to prepare yourself for it, and watch other people like I did, and still am. It's a roller coaster ride, because it makes you notice things about yourself that you never knew were there, and things that you never thought you would worry about, that never have bothered you before, that bother you now. And it's a silly thing, but it's kind of, in a way, I'm kind of glad I went through this, because I feel like I know myself a lot better now, than I did before. And I see now that I was hiding behind a lot of things before. I removed myself from a lot of situations before, because I didn't want to have to, I didn't want people to see my teeth like that, and I didn't want to have to hide and not be able to talk to people and interact. So I just removed myself from the situation so that I didn't have to worry about it, and I never really realized that before. I never really saw that that's what I was doing until now. And honestly, it's kind of one of those things that I look back now and I see that I missed out on so many things, because I just didn't want people to see me that way. So I mean, it's a learning experience, and I can honestly say that I've learned a lot more about myself than I thought I would. And it's kind of interesting in a way, and scary in others, because it kind of makes me wonder what this next step's going to be like, you know. But I'm anxious to find out. And I'm glad that you guys are watching my videos, and I'm seeing the views go up and up and up, and I really appreciate it. And if you watch those videos and you liked them, go back and give them a like. If you want to see more, and you enjoy listening to my rambling, sometimes I wonder why people watch it, but give me a subscribe, you know. And as always, I welcome comments or questions, or anything you guys have to say. I welcome it. And until next time, see you guys later.